Come on. If I blow a little harder, gets it going faster. Little sip slows it down. Now a light puff turns it that way, a light sip. And then a hard sip stops it.
Walt is one of the BC Rehab Board members who is celebrating 50 years with a spinal cord injury.
50 years. 50 years. 50 years.
Grew up in Dawson Creek. Great family, friends. Then I was down in Kelowna playing hockey. Went for a little dive and broke my neck. I'm a hockey player. I'm all about my body. And here I am. I'm a person that can't move. So at that time, I would have traded my life for absolutely anybody's. It was a deep, dark pit of a hole.
Lots of emotions going on. Not being able to move, not being able to breathe, not being able to talk. I remember the doc saying I probably would never be able to breathe independently. I needed the availability of breathing assistance all the time.
So Walt is the only person I know who has lived with a spinal cord injury for 5 decades, being on a ventilator. I think it's like 70% of people with C5 or above injuries will need some form of ventilation.
At that time, it was the polio ward I was on. So I guess that's what you do with a high lesion, spinal cord injured kid. This might be permanent. So I learned much dependency in Pearson because there wasn't a home care at those times. We've come such a long way. My parents, when I think back, they were so there. I would go home for 2 months every summer, a couple weeks every Christmas. I was always included. When I devalued myself, other people didn't. They valued me, just by being there. Why do we need to live in an institution? We could hire our own staff and collectively get out into the community. So 6 of us moved in together.
People were not living independently in any community, certainly that we knew in North America, on a ventilator.
No.
So it was just kind of this crazy idea.
I was so impressed that each of you co-chaired one of the committees, and people wanted to participate in the project. So that we were very blessed, like Neil Squire Foundation, Kinsman, they were so critical because we needed emergency call systems.
Being able to use your phone independently.
Right.
Being able to turn the TV on and off.
Creekview was really a watershed for people because it enabled a lot of people who had been thinking the same thing as you guys had been to actually be able to act on it.
Technologies for independent living, provincial respiratory outreach program enabled that independence. Collectively as a community, we were advocating for rehab, but there was none.
That's my strongest memory of you as a catalyst, a mentor, a touchstone for so many people who came after you.
You had me go in and do some health teaching.
All I remember is you're always around Walt. And Walt had this big smile on his face all the time.
Wow, scary moving out of Pearson, then scary moving out of Creekview, really scary getting married.
I think Wendy has so much to do with Walt's success.
My dear wife is the foundation that keeps things together.
Whatever you do for Walt, you're not just doing it for him. You know, you do it for his family.
The High Legion program actually started in 1992, and so Walt was on that team. Now I'm his manager, but you know, Walt manages me, I don't manage him.
The goal is to get them an opportunity back to their community.
And that's part of what Walt is working on with all of the clients here, is to think about home first. He never lets us forget why we're here and who we're here for.
In the first few days of being here, Walt came into my room, and I just remember thinking, like, who is this guy? And, you know, what the hell is he driving that crazy wheelchair with his mouth? And I didn't know anything about being a quadriplegic. I could tell that Walt was actually a happy man, and I thought, well, if he can do it, maybe I can too.
He managed somehow to become able to breathe independently off the ventilator despite a high cervical injury. So the fact that he has now lived 50 years post-injury says a lot about his drive and determination.
The white straw, the sip on it opens my back door.
Walt has lived that whole continuum from residential care, an institution like Pearson, to the shared care at Creekview, to living independently with supports in the community. He has lived it all. He's got a phenomenal legacy. The spinal cord program would not be the same if it wasn't for him.
Come here, Pop.
It's amazing. I could fill BC Place with all the people that have contributed to my life. A little smile, with a kind word, from a deep, dark pit, where I would have traded my life for anybody's, to 50 years later, I would not trade my life for anybody's. Married, 2 wonderful kids, love where I work. How much better does it get?
She gave you a double take.